Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're going to go ahead and review a fragrance from the house of L'Occitane. The fragrance is called Vétyver. Here's the fragrance, here's the bottle. It was released in the year 2001. The bottle and the design are very similar to the other L'Occitane fragrances like Eau de Beau and Cade. It's got the same kind of brown bottle, kind of reminds you of like an artisan type of bottle. Now, the one difference is this cap is actually plastic and not metal, which I think is actually a better improvement because it reminded me of like nails on chalkboard whenever you would open the bottles for like L'Occitane's Eau de Beau. So to me, that's a welcome improvement. So I think the bottle was actually redesigned just slightly because they may have received a little bit of feedback from it. Or it's cheaper, who knows? Either way, they have changed the bottle a little bit. Now, again, the fragrance was released in the year 2001, and it runs at, for a 3.4, you can get it for about $55. I apologize for the noise in the background. It's a train. I'm going to have to figure out a better way to actually record these. But either way, it's a 3.4. You can get it for about $55. It's a reasonably priced fragrance. You might not find a lot of options as to where to buy this just because it's from the flagship store and it's not really, I guess you could say, faked at all. So for that matter, it may be a little bit difficult. But $55 for 3.4, it's really not a bad deal. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into the notes for this fragrance. The notes of this fragrance consist of, at our top, we have bergamot and lemon. For our mid, we have nutmeg and gaiac wood. And for our base, we have vetiver, cedar, and leather. So those notes right there are actually what got me interested in this. And this fragrance was actually a gift from my fiance. She went out and got me a fragrance. I figured, hey, get me one of the L'Occitane fragrances, and she got me this. Well, she actually got me Cade, but I actually had Cade already, and she went back and got this. Again, sorry for the noise. But either way, this fragrance actually starts out pretty interesting. It starts out with a very heavy citrus type of a vibe to it. The citrus vibe quickly gives way, and you can really get the vetiver in it. Now, I mentioned the citrus and the vetiver in it to it because it kind of reminded me of another fragrance at first, which is by Guerlain's Vétyver. But Guerlain's Vétyver remains citrusy, whereas this that citrus disappears after about a minute, and it gives way to this incensey vetiver type of a smell. So it's still not this. Most vetivers to me come off as really bitter and unmanageable. So a good one, for example, is Chanel's Sycamore. Is an example of the type of vetiver, the traditional vetiver smell, which is like this dirty, earthy root smell that doesn't necessarily smell bad. It's just this very, very earthy type of a smell. This vetiver doesn't really have that. It goes this incensey vetiver type of a route. And what's more is you really start getting a little bit of the leather and especially the cedar mixed in with this one. Leather and cedar really dominate this one. I think that's what's really giving it this incensey type of a smell. So overall, when you kind of think of it, it comes off as a slightly citrusy, mostly incensey type of a vetiver that remains. It's pretty uniform throughout, so it's not really changing that much outside of the citrus going away after about a minute, or even maybe a minute up to like 30 minutes is when the citrus starts going away, and you're left with this vetiver, incensey vetiver type of a smell, which to me smells absolutely fantastic. Now, one kind of comparison that it does kind of smell like is a souped up version of, what is that scent? Old Spice. It smells like a souped up version of Old Spice, if you will. If Old Spice put the effort into it, it could have possibly smelled like this, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I don't think Old Spice smells bad at all. I just think it has no lasting power or anything like that. But this one really does smell like a souped up version of Old Spice. This fragrance comes off to me as timeless. Again, it was released in 2001, and it does feel like a release that could get away with being released today. So at the same time of smelling like a little bit like Old Spice and a little bit old school, I think it still has this new-ish type of a vibe, this vibe that kind of sticks with and remains relevant throughout pretty much as the fragrance ages and as time has gone on. So that's a very positive side to it. Now, this, I've noticed, also does one of two things. It either goes one of two different ways. Man, that train. It usually goes one of two different ways. The first way is it goes more bitter. And it goes more bitter to the, what is a good comparison? The Sycamore comparison, or the, I'm forgetting the scent. I forgot the name. But anyways, it goes a little bit more bitter. And the other way that it kind of goes is it's more a little bit of a leathery cedar type of a way. Now, most of the time that I wore this, about 90% of the time, it went more of the leather cedary type of a way, but it did go a little bit more of the bitter way. I'm not quite sure if it's because of something that I ate for the day, but it's just one thing to kind of point out. So it could go one of two ways. I go about 3 sprays on this fragrance. This fragrance is a very powerful up-close fragrance. This fragrance really doesn't have that good projection. So a lot of people, as they pass you, they might catch some whiffs off you, but you're really not going to be reaching out and grabbing them. It may feel like this is a fragrance that projects really well, but I just didn't actually find it to be actually projecting rather than being a smell that envelops you. You can really smell it, and if you're close, you can really smell it, but if you're far, you can't really smell it. So that's one thing that's really deceptive about this. You may be, just because it's really strong up close, you may think that, oh man, this is projecting like crazy. I would highly suggest you ask people, because chances are they're not going to be able to smell you on it. That said, even though it doesn't have good projection or good sillage, it does have excellent longevity, and it's going to last you 10-12 hours on your skin. Now, as far as the situation, I tend to wear this one more in the colder months, like now, but you can get away with this in the warmer months if you just regulate your spraying as well. It's also a good fragrance for work. It's a good fragrance for going out casually or even dressing up casually. So if you're going to wear a suit and it's just one of your light suits and you're not really in a serious type of a mood, then this is a fragrance that you can definitely get away with. Now, age group wise, I think this is better for people that are out of college. If you're in college, you might want to stick away from this one or stay away from this one. And compliment wise, this definitely gets compliments if they can smell you, and that's a big if. So they have to get up closer to you to actually be able to smell you, but generally when they do smell you, they like what they smell. So that's another positive for this one. So if I'm going to go ahead and give this fragrance a rating, I give this fragrance a rating of an 8 out of 10. Why do I give it an 8 out of 10? Well, number one, it's a great smelling fragrance just overall, and the performance on it I find to be, pretty good. I generally don't like my fragrances to scream because it generally tends to make me regulate how much I spray, where I spray it. With this one, you don't really have to worry about that. All you have to worry about is just spray it on, let it sit, and people will smell you when they get up close to you. But other than that, it does its job. Now, at worst, I would say that it's a souped up version of Old Spice. If you're not a fan of Old Spice or that type of sort of smell, you might not be a fan of it. It does have an incensey type of a vibe, you might not be a fan of it. This is not as a stronger type of a vetiver, so if you're looking for those strong, really earthy, rooty type of vetivers, you may not take like this one. But if you like those upbeat more vetivers like Guerlain's vetiver, then you might want to definitely give this one a try. Anyways, let me know what your thoughts are on Vétyver. It's been out for a while. I haven't really heard much from it. But either way, let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you. Take care of yourselves and have a great day.